You walk out of every team meeting replaying what you said and wondering if it landed. You're being nicer than you've ever been at work. And somehow people are still missing deadlines, pushing back, or just not really listening. And that's making you feel small. Most new managers lose their team's respect so fast, and it usually comes down to one mistake in how they talk to their employees. In this video, I'll show you what the mistake is and the simple 3-step system you can use to earn respect fast from day one so people actually listen, follow through, and take you seriously. I'm Maria, and I've spent the last decade coaching leaders inside companies like Google, Salesforce, Disney, and a bunch of growth stage startups you've heard of. Before that, though, and this is the part that throws people, I was a model and a Zen priest. Sounds like weird path, but it's actually the whole point. I learned how to hold presence under pressure long before I ever helped leaders lead teams. And what I'm about to share is the pattern I see every single time a smart, capable new manager starts to slip. Here's the mistake. New managers think that being nice equals being respected. So they soften everything. They hint, they hedge, they wrap every direction in 5 layers of no worries if not. And their team, sometimes consciously or mostly not, stops taking them seriously. Respect doesn't come from being liked, it comes from being clear. That's it. That's the whole game. So let's get into the 3 ways to earn it from day one. First, make the guest a picture. Here's what I mean. In your head, you have a whole picture of how things should work, what good looks like, when you want updates, how you handle disagreement, what urgent actually means versus important. That picture is crystal clear in you, but for your team, it's a guess. You might have heard this called make the implicit explicit. It's the same thing. I'm just saying it more simply. Your team is guessing. Your job is to hand them the picture. Most new managers walk in assuming people will pick it up. They won't. People aren't mind readers. And when there's a gap between the picture in your head and what's been said out loud, your team fills the gap with guesses you didn't sign off on. Then something goes sideways and you think, how could they not know? Bingo. That's right. There's the gap. They didn't know because you didn't tell them. They were guessing and they guessed wrong. And here's a way to think about it that just clicked for me. You know, when you give an AI like ChatGPT a vague prompt, it'll just make stuff up confidently with detail, but it's hallucinating. The model fills in the gap in your prompt to whatever sounds right. Your team does the same thing, not because they're bad at their jobs, because that's what any system does. When the input is vague, it fills in the gap with its best guess. And sometimes the guess is wrong, and sometimes it's really wrong. So the question isn't, why did my team get this wrong? The question is, how clear was the picture I gave them? Vague prompt, vague output. Clear picture, align execution. Same rule, whether you're prompting an AI or directing your team. So here's what you do. In your first week, you sit down with each person and you say something like, here's how I work. I check in once a week on Mondays, 15 minutes. If something's on fire before then, Slack me. Don't email. When you bring me a problem, bring me the 2 options you've already considered. I don't want to micromanage you, but I will ask hard questions. And if I'm ever doing something that doesn't make sense, I want you to tell me. I'm a straight shooter and I can take it. That's it. 5 sentences. You just collapsed 3 months of guesswork into one conversation. And here's the part that surprises new managers. Your team will not think you're being too rigid. They will exhale because finally someone told them what to expect. They've been working in a fog for so long. Clarity feels like oxygen. I worked with a client, a VP in a tech company, sharp, capable. Her team was underperforming and she couldn't figure out why. Well, it turns out she had this whole picture in her head of what she expected, and she's never shown it to anyone. She thought saying it would feel controlling, so she hinted instead, and her team kept guessing and kept guessing wrong. And the minute she sat the team down and handed them the picture, like literally wrote it down and shared it, performance shifted in 2 weeks. not because the team got better, because the team finally knew what the game was, what they were playing. That's number one. Make the guests a picture. Don't make your team work in a fog. Hand them what's in your head. What's the game? Okay. Second, lead with the headline. This one's about how you actually talk, not the content, but the shape of it. New managers ramble, not because they're not smart, because they're nervous. So they front load every sentence with throat clearing. So I was thinking, I don't know if this is right, but maybe we could possibly look at, the thing we were sound familiar? By the time you get the point, your team has tuned out. And worse, they've decided you don't actually have one. Authority doesn't sound like aggression. It sounds like clarity. The fastest way to sound like a leader is to lead with the point. Think like a journalist. A journalist has one tiny column on the front page. They don't have room to warm up. The first sentence has to carry the whole story. Everything after it is just detail. Same for you. Every meeting, every email, every Slack. Start with the headline. That's the one sentence that if your team only heard that, they'd know what you needed. Try this. Before you send your next message to your team, write the whole thing, then delete the first 3 sentences. I bet the message will be better. In meetings, same move. When you open, don't just start with, I wanted to chat about a few things. Start with, I want 20 minutes today to make a decision on the launch date. Done. Now everyone in that room knows what they're there for. They sit forward, they engage. You know that internet slang, the TLDR, too long, didn't read? People put it at the top of a long post so you can get the point in one line before you decide to read the rest. Steal that. Every meeting, every email, every Slack, start with your TLDR, the one sentence that if your team only got that line, they'd still know what you needed. It feels uncomfortable at first because you're trained to build up to the point. Unlearn that. Here's the deeper thing. When you lead with the headline, you're telling your team, I respect your time. I know what you're doing. I'm not going to make you dig for the point. That's what respect actually sounds like. It's not loud. It's not dominant. It's clean. And when you can't lead with the headline, when you find yourself rambling, that's the signal. It means you don't actually know what your point is yet. Stop talking. Take a breath. Find the headline before you keep going. I tell my clients this all the time. If you can't say it in one sentence, you don't know it well enough yet. Go back, get clear, then come back to the conversation. This is just like I teach in my workshops, because this stuff goes way deeper than what I can fit in a video. And in fact, we have one coming up next month. If you stay till the end, I'll tell you more about that. Okay, third, this one nobody talks about. And it's the one that separates managers who get respected from managers who get tolerated. When something goes wrong on your team, and something will go wrong, that's not a maybe. Your first move determines everything. Here's what most new managers do. Someone misses a deadline, drops the ball, sends a sloppy email. And in your head, automatically, your brain does this really fast move. It writes a headline, but the wrong kind of headline. It's reactive. He's checked out. She doesn't care. They don't get it. Now think about that for a second. In a real newspaper, a headline is backed by an article, reporting, sources, facts. These reactive headlines your brain writes about your team. Not really. Where are the facts? This is usually a fast assumption that makes you feel certain and in control of the situation, but with no facts. And here's the trap. This reactive headline feels like an answer, but it's not. It's the sound your mind makes when it doesn't want to sit in uncertainty. Your brain hates the gap between what you expected and what actually happened. So it grabs the cleanest label it can find and slaps on it. Notice this, the exact opposite of what we just talked about. When you act as the journalist, you write clean headlines so they know what's going on. In this step, You're the reader who has to catch when your own brain is publishing headlines without doing any of the reporting. Here's the problem with believing your own reactive headline. The minute you decide your team member is checked out, doesn't care, or just doesn't get it, even silently, even just in your head, you stop being the leader, you become their judge. Your team can feel it. They feel it in your tone. They feel it in your body language. They feel it in the questions you stop asking. And once your team feels you've decided they're the problem, respect is gone. Done. You can't lead someone you've already convicted. So here's the move. When the reactive headline starts running, and it will, you ask one question out loud in your head. It doesn't matter. Is it true? What else can be true? Is it actually true that this person is checked out? What's underneath the reactive headline? Maybe they didn't have the information. Maybe they're getting conflicting priorities from another stakeholder. Maybe their kid was up all night. Maybe they were never told this was an urgent thing. Maybe. And this one is the stings. Maybe they're using their best strategy to meet a need you didn't see. When I work with new managers, this is the move I drill the hardest, because being certain and being curious are opposite. The minute you're certain about your reactive headline, you stop being curious about the rest of the story. And the minute you stop being curious, you stop being able of actually solving the right problem. Curiosity sounds like, hey, I noticed the report came in late. Help me understand what happened. Not, why is this late? You hear the difference? One opens a door, the other closes it. I had a client, a manager at a fast growing company. She had a direct report and her reactive headline was, she's not motivated, always behind, always making excuses. She came to me ready to put her on a performance plan. And I asked her, is it true? What's the real story here? What else can be true? And she paused and she said, actually, I don't know. I haven't asked her. She went and looked and turned out that the woman was carrying the work for two other departments because nobody had said no on her behalf. She wasn't motivated. She was actually drowning. And once that got cleaned up, she became one of the highest performers in her team. That manager almost fired her star employee because of a reactive headline. Her brain had ran in 3 seconds. No investigation, just the headline. It happened so fast. When the reactive headline starts running, you need to pause, take 3 breaths, and ask, is this true? What else can be true? Then go investigate the story before you publish this verdict. Your team will respect you so much more faster when they feel you're trying to understand them, not convict them. Okay, so let's tie this together. 3 ways to instantly gain respect as a new manager. Make the guests a picture. Get what's in your head into your team's hands. Don't make them guess. Show them. Lead with a headline. Authority sounds like clarity. Cut the warm-up. Get to the point. Catch the reactive headline your brain just wrote. When something goes wrong, ask, is it true? And what else could be true before you publish a verdict? None of this is about being tougher. None of it is about being louder. It's about being cleaner, clearer, and more honest. That's what your team is actually hungry for. And here's the thing. Most new managers think they need to figure all of this out alone. You don't. If you're a new manager and you're trying to get your feet underneath you, I just put together a workshop that goes through step by step exactly how I would start over again if I were sitting in your seat. It's the same stuff I teach leaders. I build it for people in your shoes. If you want access to that, I put the link in the description. Go ahead and register. It's a small group. We go deep and you walk out with a real plan. If this landed for you, and I hope it did, hit subscribe. I drop new videos every week for mid-level managers and leaders trying to stop managing to survive and start designing to thrive. See you next week.